everyone, welcome to my channel and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. So this is another episode in my deck walkthrough series, and today I thought I'd bring you the Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. So this tarot deck is a completely different system to the rider-waite system of reading cards. They have similar roots, but they deviated quite a bit from each other. And this was a system that was introduced by Aleister Crowley, and it was painted by Lady Frida Harris and was published in 1969. Whereas the rider-waite deck was done by Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Waite, and was published in 1909. Now the two men did know each other, and if you go back into reading to the history, which is very interesting, there was a bit of rivalry that went on between the two of them. But they did bring decks that were very, very, life-changing. It changed the world of divination quite a bit. And this is a very interesting deck because even though it's different from the rider-waite system, it actually enhances your reading cards from the rider-waite system. Now, the rider-waite system is a very, very easy system to use. Easy in the sense that it's got a lot of imagery in it, and it's easy to relate to that imagery. Even though it was published in 1909, the images are still, you're still able to use it in today's reading. So it hasn't changed much as far as imagery goes, and you can relate to those images really, really easily. And it's I think it's a beautiful system, a beautiful deck to use. I enjoy using it, and I used the Thoth Tarot as to enhance my readings with the rider-waite system. Now the Thoth Tarot requires a lot more in-depth research, studying. There's a lot of symbology in it. It uses a lot of astrology as well, and it uses a lot of Hebrew symbology. It's got a lot of Greek symbology as well. It uses a lot of the Kabbalah in the Thoth Tarot, so a very, very interesting deck, and it gives you a lot of insight. I find it very, very interesting, but it's got, you do need a lot of in-depth studying, and you do need to read up on it. I don't feel it's a deck that you can just pick up and start using. And certainly not a deck for absolute beginners. I mean, you can give it a go if you're an absolute beginner, but it's a good deck to keep in mind for future reference, so that as you get more proficient in the tarot, it is a deck that you should really turn to for, to grow. You don't want to get to a point in the tarot where you get stuck and then there's no further scope for development. Tarot is a big field of study, and I don't think you can ever get bored learning the tarot, or you can never ever say I've learned the tarot and that's done and I'm done. There's always scope for learning and advancement, and raising your vibration with the tarot. So this deck, as I said, was published in 1969, and this is a copy of those cards that were done. It has been painted by Lady Frida Harris, and was published by the cards themselves have been done by or inspired by Aleister Crowley. So a very, very interesting deck, and a very important deck in tarot as well. It's one of the mainstays in the tarot community. So this particular deck comes with 78 cards. It comes in a nice little box. There's many different publications of the Thoth deck, and this is just one of the publications. So this is the deck. It's got a nice blue background over there, a little bit about the Thoth Tarot there, and it gives you a history of it on the back of the box there. Reasonable box, not too sturdy, but you look after your decks and they will look after you, really. These are the cards. They're a standard size of card themselves. We've got a 10 by 14 centimeter card. And it's got a reasonable card stock. It's not too shiny. It shuffles really nicely. So that's the card stock themselves. The back of the cards have got this cross that is known as the Rosicrucian cross. So it's a nice colored cross, and it's got this checkered background that is going on behind it. So it's not a reversible deck. and it really shouldn't be read as a reversible deck either. So those are what the standard card looks like. It's got a little white border going on around it. Even in the front, it's got a border there, and it's got some artwork on the border itself, and it's got the central picture. So those are the cards themselves. I'll take you through the cards just now, but I'll just show you the little white book. So this is a 40-page book, and it's all done in English, and it tells you about all about the cards. So it's a very basic rundown about the cards themselves. This is the Tree of Life on the front of it. It tells you the origin of the tarot, its association of this tarot deck, and the association of this deck to the Kabbalah, and also it gives you a nice association with the Egyptian symbology as well. And then it runs down all the major Arcana cards, all done in black and white though. There are no pictures in this book itself. And it takes you through the minor Arcana cards as well, and tells you what the numbers of the cards are, so what the actual cards mean. I do suggest you buying a book on top of this book, on top of the deck, to enhance the readings of the cards, because the system of reading with the Thoth deck is completely different from the rider-waite deck. It's the cards look different, and what the meanings everything that has been painted on the card themselves have got symbolical meaning. So it's really important for you to understand that in order for you to learn the deck, or it will just go over your head and you might end up pushing it aside and not even looking at it again. So in order for you not to be turned off by it, get a good book on this, and read up on it. There's lots of books on Amazon, and even some people do tutorials on YouTube on the Thoth deck. So this is something that you should look into if you're really very serious about learning the Thoth deck. The deck itself comes with 2 extra cards there. Like, they usually are printed in 80 cards, so these are the 2 extra cards over there. And that just tells you a little bit, one of the sayings that Aleister Crowley made. And then there's a card with a little star on it and a little flower. So it's just the extra 2 cards. So you set those aside, and let's have a look at the deck itself. So I'm just going to show you the pictures. I'm not going to actually explain anything about what's going on in the deck, but I thought you just need to have a look, because it's really important to see what the deck looks like before you decide to buy it. So this is the Fool, and the artwork is really, really beautiful. I have to say, this lady Frida did a really good job when she did the paintings of it. So it's beautifully done. So this is the Fool card, and it's got the Hebrew symbology at the bottom over there. And it usually has the element, or it's got an astrological symbol at the bottom. So this is the Fool. This is the Magnus, or the Magician. And you can see here it's got Mercury over here, and it's got the Hebrew symbol over there. So this is important to even learn what the Hebrew symbol is, as you start using the deck. So that's the Magnus. The Priestess, which would be the High Priestess in the usual tarot deck. The Empress. The Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Adjustment, which would be the Justice card really, the Hermit, the Fortune, which would be the Wheel of Fortune, Lust, the Hangman, Death, Art, which would be Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Eon, which would be the Judgment card, and the Universe. Now the minor arcana are actually not pictures. They are illustrated pip cards, and so you will have to really look at whatever the symbology is on the card to read the card. So that's how it deviates a lot from the rider-waite deck, because in the rider-waite deck, all the minor arcana cards have got pictures on it. So this is different in that regard. So this puts it into the field of, you do need to know a bit about the tarot first before you start using this deck, or it will get confusing. So this is the Ace of Wands, the Two of Wands. The minor arcana have got the astrological symbology in it. So you've got Mars sitting here in Aries. So if you are proficient with astrology, this would be, it would be easier to learn this deck itself. And it's got a title at the bottom as well. So this is the Two of Rods, the Three of Rods, the Four of Rods, the Five of Rods, the Six of Rods, the Seven of Rods, the Eight of Rods, the Nine of Rods, and the 10 of Rods. Then you've got the Princess of Wands, the Prince of Wands, the Queen of Wands, and the Knight of Wands. So these decks, the minor arcana do not have kings in it. So they've got Prince, Princess, Queen, and Knight. So that's another feature where it deviates from the rider-waite deck system. This is the Ace of Discs, which would be the Ace of Pentacles in the rider-waite deck, but it's the Ace of Discs here. The Two of Discs, the Three of Discs, the Four of Discs, the Five of Discs, the Six of Discs, the Seven of Discs, the Eight of Discs, the Nine of Discs, the 10 of Discs. And then you've got the Princess of Discs, the Prince of Discs, the Queen of Discs, and the Knight of Discs. And then you've got the Ace of Swords, the Two of Swords, Three of Swords, the Four of Swords, Five of Swords, Six of Swords, Seven of Swords, Eight of Swords, Nine of Swords, 10 of Swords. And then you've got the Princess of Swords, the Prince of Swords, I seem to have messed up, the Queen of Swords here, and the Knight of Swords. Okay, so this is the Cups cards. It's the Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups, the Three of Cups, the Four of Cups. This is the Five of Cups, Six of Cups, Seven of Cups, Eight of Cups, Nine of Cups, 10 of Cups, Princess of Cups, Prince of Cups, Queen of Cups, and the Knight of Cups. Now, even though they're illustrated pip cards, they're beautifully done, and the artwork on it, it's just not, sticks and cups lying on a card. You can see how beautifully done this is. This would be the Seven of Cups, and it's just beautifully illustrated. So, they are, and this is the Five of Cups. They are really lovely, and, the artwork is quite exceptional on the cards themselves. So, and there's so much of information on it. Once you start looking into astrology and the tarot, this is such a beautiful deck to have, and a very useful deck as well. And you can learn so much from it, because just reading around the subject just enhances your knowledge of the tarot as a whole. If you are very, very interested in, taking that step into learning the tarot in depth, then this is definitely a deck that you should get, and you will cherish it for a long time as well. It is one of the foundation decks, as far as I'm concerned, to do with the tarot, and something really worth owning. I don't think any serious tarot reader is without a Thoth deck. That is how important it is, and it gives by learning on this deck as well as the rider-waite, you have a better understanding, and you can do a lot more soul searching. It's a much more esoteric journey that you are taking rather than it just being very superficial. So that is where I would highly recommend it. As far as readings go with this deck, people do readings on it, but it is more a deck for yourself, I would think, initially, until you get more proficient in the tarot, rather than taking this deck out and doing tarot readings with it. So it's a really great learning deck, and it's a great deck to do soul searching and also to find your journey in life. This would be the deck to be using. In that respect, I would highly recommend the deck. And these cards are reasonably inexpensive, so get a hold of it and do some research on it and do some reading around this deck. It's a very, very important deck, and it will really enhance your spiritual journey as well. So I will put links to Amazon and eBay for these decks in the description box. So please follow the links to view or to buy the deck. And please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave me some comments if you've enjoyed this deck review. And thank you so much for watching. Take care now. Goodbye.